GoForThe2.com in with the Week 6 selections before I get into the picks for this coming weekend. This coming Saturday, College Football Today live from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. from the Sports Grid studio inside the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Check it out. I'll give you all my selections on this video, along with the other top 25 games and some of the under-the-radar games I'm looking at as the week progresses. You could stream it live at SportsGrid, sportsgrid.com, or go to Xumo, XUMO, TV, channel 719, 9 a.m. Eastern to 12 p.m. Eastern, 3 straight hours. College Football Today. Check it out. Let's jump right into the selections for this coming Saturday. Starts 12 o'clock, Tulane on the road against Army. Tulane playing very well, sitting at 3-1 overall, coming out of a bye week after that monumental last-minute victory over Houston 2 weeks ago. J.J. McCleskey with the touchdown reception. They pulled off some miraculous plays in the last minute of that ball game to give their Tulane Green Wave the victory 38-31. This is a team that's averaging 273 rushing yards per game, only allowing 143 rushing yards to opposing offenses, and played toe-to-toe from a defensive standpoint against Auburn on the road. Tulane lost that matchup 24-6, held Auburn to only 172 rushing yards in that battle, and that's a key statistic going up against the triple option on the road in this ballgame. Last year, Tulane did defeat Navy, and Willie Fritz against the triple option has played very well. Tulane is very physical on the offense and defensive lines. This is a team that makes adjustments, and the team responds to adversity. When the team is down like they were in the first half against Houston, they did not fold, and that's why I like them on the road in this matchup against Army. When you look at the wide receivers, Mooney and J.J. McCleskey combined for 21 receptions and 4 touchdowns. Their quarterback, Justin McMillan, has played well in the system. He's completed 50% of his passes, 610 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's an athletic quarterback, a former LSU transfer that can put pressure on Army's defense on the perimeter. Both of these teams will mirror each other, but Tulane has the better athletes and has more speed to challenge Army. They get it done Saturday afternoon by 10 points or more on the road. Tulane is the better team and dominates Army in West Point this coming Saturday. Another big battle takes place in Lubbock. It's between Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Texas Tech did not play well last week against Oklahoma. Lost that battle 55-16. They only converted 1 of 14 on third down conversions. Jet Duffy completed 11 of 20 passes, 120 yards. Did not get it done, but I think they can get it done against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's playing very well. They are 5-0 against the number this year. Got the victory against Kansas State in a delayed game that took place about 4 hours before they pulled out that victory against K-State. Spencer Sanders in that offense is playing very well, but they go on the road to Lubbock, which is not an easy place to play. Oklahoma State has won 4 of the last 5 over Texas Tech by an average margin of victory of 8.7 points per game, but lost this battle last year in Stillwater 41-17. When you look at defensively, I still like Texas Tech overall. That matches up against Oklahoma State's offense. I look for Matt Wells to run the football, get Ahmad Shine, and get TJ Vasher involved in the offense this week. I think Oklahoma State wins, but Texas Tech is in this ballgame from start to finish. Oklahoma State gets the victory 35-34 over Texas Tech. Look for the Red Raiders to bounce back in a big way this coming Saturday. Another big battle in the Big 12 is Oklahoma on the road against Kansas. Oklahoma's won 14 straight against the Jayhawks. The last 5 games, Oklahoma's won by an average margin of victory of 39.6 points per game. What can you say about Jalen Hurts? The kid's playing lights out. Last week, threw for 415 yards, 3 touchdowns, one interception. Also added another touchdown on the ground. This is an offense under Lincoln Riley that's averaging well over 650 yards per game. This is an offense that will be hitting on all cylinders as they hit Lawrence, Kansas this coming Saturday. But Oklahoma does have Texas on deck. There's the possibility for the look ahead in this ball game. Kansas last year lost this matchup 55-40. Les Miles at home as an underdog will have this team ready. Look for them to run the football, shorten the game against Jalen Hurts to keep him on the sidelines. I expect Oklahoma to come out flat on the road. Oklahoma wins, but Kansas covers this number in a big way Saturday afternoon. Oklahoma with a 20-point win over the Jayhawks this coming Saturday. Another big battle in the Big Ten. It's Michigan and Iowa. Michigan bounced back with a dominating effort at home, 52-0 against Rutgers. It led to Chris Ash being fired in Piscataway. On the flip side, you have an Iowa team that dominated Middle Tennessee State, now goes on the road with a hot quarterback in Nate Stanley. Iowa is a balanced offense. They're averaging 217 rushing yards, passing for over 200 with Nate Stanley. Stanley's completed 64% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. This is an Iowa defense that's only allowing 8 points per game and only giving up 78 rushing yards to opposing offenses. On the flip side, you have a team in Michigan that's averaging only 130 yards on the ground, passing for over 200 with Shea Patterson. Last week, Michigan bounced back. They threw for 336 yards against Rutgers. Patterson bounced back with 3 touchdowns against the Scarlet Knights. But this is an offense that will need to challenge Iowa's defense over the top. When you look at Michigan overall, they're giving up in the front seven 169 rushing yards per game, but holding opposing offenses under 170 yards passing in the back end. They're right in the area of about 135 passing yards allowed against opposing quarterbacks, and I think that's the matchup to see play out going up against Nate Stanley. Also, keep this in mind. Since 2016, Michigan under Jim Harbaugh, 21-8 against Big Ten opponents. More importantly, since 2016 under Harbaugh, at home, 22-2 overall. The last 11 games, Michigan has won by an average margin of victory of 25.7 points per game. This is a make-it-or-break-it game for Michigan. They bounce back in a big way with a 14-point win over Iowa in Ann Arbor this coming Saturday. Another big battle takes place in the SEC. It's between Auburn and Florida. Auburn dominated Mississippi State. Bo Nix passed for over 350 yards in that battle. Auburn also rushed for over 500 yards of total offense against the solid Bulldogs defense. They now go on the road to face Florida that dominated 38-0 against Townsend and now faces a hot quarterback in Bo Nix. When you look at this defense for Auburn, only giving up 89 rushing yards per game to opposing offenses and holding opposing offenses to 200 passing yards per game. This is a Florida offense that will want to challenge Auburn over the top. Kyle Trask has completed 77% of his passes, and I think he challenges that Auburn defense in this matchup. Florida has the speed to play man-to-man coverage, to challenge Nix, to beat them over the top, and I don't think he can do it. It's going to be a tough atmosphere in Gainesville. When you look at the coaching matchup as well, Gus Malzahn last year against 2 SEC opponents, Georgia and Tennessee, lost both of those ball games last year. And when you look at Dan Mullen against SEC West opponents, Mississippi State and LSU, he got the win. Florida strikes the upset 28-24 over Auburn this coming Saturday night in Gainesville. Another big battle takes place in Neyland Stadium. Georgia on the road laying a big number against Tennessee. Georgia has won 2 straight against Tennessee by an average margin of victory of 33.5 points per game. Tennessee got dominated by Florida 2 weeks ago. They only put up 3 points on the road in Gainesville and needs this game in a big way. They lost this ball game last year in Athens by 26 points coming out of a bye week. Look for Jeremy Pruitt and that offensive staff to pull out all the stops. But more importantly, the secondary of Tennessee statistically still playing very well, holding opposing offenses under 190 passing yards per game. And I think that's the matchup. They stack the box against DeAndre Swift and that offensive line, force Fromm to beat them over the top and force him on longer drives, no chunk plays. Georgia wins, but Tennessee covers this number Saturday night in Neyland Stadium. Another big battle in the Pac-12. It's Arizona and Colorado. Khalil Tate and J.J. Taylor did not play in that ball game for Arizona. It was made the decision about an hour and a half before game time, but somehow, some way, Grunnell did get the victory over UCLA 20-17. You look at the matchup, Arizona passed for 352 yards, only rushed for 99 against UCLA. Now this team goes on the road. Tate is questionable. J.J. Taylor is questionable. I don't care whether they play or not. I still think Arizona is the better team in this matchup. They picked up this victory last year in Tucson, have won 2 straight over Colorado. I think it comes down to the secondary for Arizona that's playing much better. This is an Arizona defense that's +6 in turnover margin and has gotten better in recent weeks against opposing quarterbacks. Week 1 against Hawaii, they allowed 436 passing yards. In week 2 against Northern Arizona, they cut it down to 372. Week 3 against Allen Bowman and Texas Tech, they got it down to 307. And last week against DTR, they held that offense in check for right in the area of about 230 passing yards against UCLA. I think that's the matchup. Look for Arizona to run the football. They didn't do it last week. Look for them to do it against a suspect front seven in Colorado. Colorado's given up 175 rushing yards to opposing offenses. With Gunnell, a freshman, on the road, Arizona's game plan will be to run the football to keep Steven Montez and Colorado's offense on the sidelines. I think they could do it. They have the better offensive line, and I still like Arizona's defensive front seven, only giving up 134 rushing yards to opposing offenses. They make Colorado one-dimensional and get the road victory over the Buffaloes. Think it's high scoring as well. Look for a 38-33 Arizona win over Colorado this coming Saturday. Another big battle takes place in the ACC. It's Virginia Tech on the road against Miami. I was all over Duke last week, thought they were the more complete team. They didn't disappoint. 45-10 victory over Virginia Tech. Now Virginia Tech has to get off the mat, go on the road to face Miami coming out of a bye week. Miami's won 4 of the last 5 over the Hokies by 19 points per game. But when you look at this matchup, I think it comes down to the quarterback play. You have Williams for Miami, that's still a freshman. The offensive line, still suspect. But more importantly, who is Miami beaten? They beat Bethune-Cookman. They beat Central Michigan. Those are their only 2 wins on the year. They're coming out of a bye week. They should be into this ball game. But I still like Justin Fuente as an underdog in this battle. When you look at Virginia Tech, they're giving up 189 rushing yards per game. That's still the weakness of Miami. That's only averaging 145 yards on the ground this year. I think Virginia Tech secondary still playing very well. They're only giving up around 160 passing yards to opposing offenses. I think they could put some pressure on Williams, force him to read coverage, force him to make mistakes even though he's playing at home. And I think Virginia Tech is in this ball game from start to finish. I think it's a low-scoring game, 24-20, calling for the upset, Virginia Tech over Miami. We're just getting started. Follow me all week long at goforthe2.com. Follow the show this coming Saturday, College Football Today, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. from the Meadowlands in New Jersey. It's great. College football is awesome. I just love talking about it. See you on Saturday.